Hey y'all, this is the Zen and Coco podcast, where conversations are always centered on relatable and real as fuck self-care for super chill black girls. I'm your host Tameko, aka the Cocoa Butter Mama, and this week I'm talking about spiritual self-care. I'm going to be breaking down how I feel about it, of course, because y'all know me, and I'm also going to be giving just a quick little rundown on a few ways to tap into our higher self. And most importantly, this week is our second guest feature. Welcome to the Zen Den, Miss Adrianne Burke. She's going to be in the house dropping some amazing vibes. So let's get into it. Please enjoy the show.
You are now tuned in to Zen and Coco, the podcast centering radically unapologetic self-care for super chill black girls.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. This is episode number 9. I cannot believe I'm saying that, by the way, but this is episode number 9, Vibing Higher with Spirit. I am, as always, I feel like I'm always excited. So y'all just receive the energy, but I'm really excited about this episode. Like every time we come through, I'm gonna talk to y'all for a little bit. But special episode because I have another guest. We're gonna get into my fun chat with another super chill black girl. But before we get into that, don't y'all forget, get caught up with all the other episodes if you haven't already. If you haven't been following along, if you're new to the pod, welcome, hello. Go get comfortable, go get familiar with all of the other episodes. Yeah, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. I'm almost forgetting the most important part. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show again, right? So, boom, we're almost done. This is part 5. This is part 5 of my 6-part breakdown on my favorite areas of self-care. We've already covered the daily essentials, physical, emotional, and social self-care. That's the last few episodes. With the weekly goal it's always been being able to make sure that, collectively together, we are all, continually exploring and, basically unpacking, discovering ways to positively give each part of ourselves attention and nourishment. So, that's just the vibes. That's just the goals here. So let's jump right into it. Spirituality, I feel like that can bring up a lot of just thoughts and keywords, feelings, whatever, for a lot of people. So it's like, where to even start with such an expansive word and concept, right? I absolutely believe that there are many perspectives, valid ones at that. I'm not trying to minimize anyone, but there's many perspectives to what spirituality is, what it's about. I really think in a general sense that most of those perspectives are kind of like rooted in the knowing, the understanding, the feeling that there is like a greater purpose, a higher purpose, that life, in air quotes, life has this meaning. We're all supposed to be here. We're all supposed to something, that we're all somehow cosmically connected, that we're all universally on this cosmic journey together. We're in this human experience and human existence, and this vast interconnected human consciousness situation is going down, right? So it's also deeply fascinating, personally, to me, and I really feel like it just really kind of brings to mind the importance that I've mentioned, all throughout these past few episodes, but just in general, my strong feelings on doubling down on the importance of the self in self-care. I think spiritual self-care creates a particular and unique lane of kind of really understanding the personal, okay? Because spiritual self-care should literally touch you deeply. And that's something that I feel like, I think that generally most of us can really appreciate a nice massage. Spiritual self-care, though, it's really, really more catered. It's really more specific and defined. And I think that spiritual self-care absolutely should be, deeply touching and deeply moving for you. Otherwise, again, I say if it's not, then it's probably not self-care, boo. So, yeah. And speaking in the realm of spiritual awareness, right? And when we're thinking about feelings and thinking about emotions that come up, I really believe that deeply moving feelings, when I just was saying about being touched. So what I mean by that is like deeply moving feelings, like things that can be described as like an epiphany, like, whoa, life-changing, feeling like you have a changed mind or heart, a change of perspective, those profound shifts, that feeling, or even the sensation of like feeling invigorated to the point of like, oh my goodness, you feel so alive. You feel just like your cells, your pores, you just feel like the adrenaline, you feel activated. Or even just feeling like touching, deeply moving experiences where you're like so connected into this cosmic, like I said, the cosmic like tapestry of life. You feel like your individual self, but how you're just beating with the earth. Maybe you're communing in nature, and you're feeling like you and the trees are breathing in sync. Feeling life-changing spiritual shifts, feeling holy, reverent, transcended, anointed. These are all what I'm talking about. Like those, I don't think that those feelings are rare, but what I'm trying to say is that they are particular, they are special, and they are very specific. And so I really think that we all want to evoke and capture these feelings, and we go through it and about it in various ways. So, for example, some may seek to explore this, this interconnectedness through faith and religion. And, others may seek the same through expressions of art, meditation, deep meditation, or communes in nature. And with that said, I just personally believe that spiritual self-care is, really kind of engaging in any activities, or having any experiences, that make you feel closer to God, that make you feel closer to the, that higher consciousness, that the understanding that there is greater, and all of those things should also make you feel like purposeful, powerful, and able in your faith, in your devotion to, again, whatever it is that you subscribe to. I really feel like that is what spiritual self-care is, like giving yourselves the opportunity to have those experiences, bring those emotions up, or seeking the experiences yourself to make them happen. Right? So boom, right? Straight like that. And so just a few examples. I feel like I've listed some, and I feel like, again, I just really believe that we're all pretty keen and sharp here in the space in Zen and Coco. And so y'all can put two and two together. So I just wanted to give a few examples of varied spiritual self-care practices. And again, some things are intertwined with religious or cultural practices, as well. So just take that in stride. Examples of things particular to like the intersection of religion and cultural practices when it comes to spiritual self-care can definitely include observances of particular ritual or rituals, reading or reciting, memorization of certain texts, special texts, religious texts, you guys get it, and attending special ceremonies and or services. Again, I don't want to single or alienate any one particular religion, so I like to keep it as general as possible to be very mindful to every way that all of us super chill Black girls show up in our faith. What other examples? I feel like I'm losing my mind here, my thought. Oh yeah, so praise, worship, prayer, fasting. These are all like very particular and wonderful examples of, spiritual practices that are like at the intersection, like I said, of religion and cultural practices as well. All of those things are powerful, and definitely evoke, like I said, all of these strong emotions that spirituality, generally can bring about. So, flipping on the other side, some non-religious acts of spiritual self-care, but I guess still cultural. So, like I said, it's kind of like all interflowing, interconnected. These things include yoga, meditation, varied mindfulness practices, communing with nature. I think I mentioned that one earlier. Connecting with community through a host of shared goals, shared interests, and through activism. I really think that that's important to note too. What else? Cleansing the self, cleansing your environment. Maybe that's decluttering, maybe that's like a sage wand, girl, whatever it is, but just like cleansing self or cleansing your environment of negative energy. Maybe you're trying to move stuff ahead and you realize that you're stuck and stagnant and you need to clear some stuff out. And my favorite is, things like art. Well, let's just say encompassing the arts in general, really, but particular dance, music, and visual expression. These things are absolutely acts of spiritual self-care as well. So, yeah, I don't want to take up too much more time, babbling on. Y'all get it. Y'all know I'm wordy, but we'll wait till next week so I can go in further. But I'm just excited to really just move y'all straight into the vibing higher in our spiritual self-care chat with Namaste the Ego, Miss Adrianne Burke. I've known this woman, pardon me, you know how I talk, girl. I've known her for years, and I've had so many interesting conversations with Adrianne, so many back and forths. Oh my goodness. I just love her so much, and I knew that she would add a ton of value and fun to this conversation. So y'all get into it, enjoy our chat, be back in a minute. To just be like super excited and gush about how awesome you are. And I'm so excited that you are even giving, breath and time and energy to being on Zen and Coco with me.
Yes.
And I really just feel like it's been such a long time since I've had a chance to like unpack and chat with you anyway. So I'm just so thankful that you were signed up for my Zen and Coco little Zen Den personal Kiki, and that you're here. And I just want to start off with like tell us. I don't want to define and introduce you because I think that you can do that yourself. I want you to tell everybody who you are. Give us a quick rundown on what it is that you do, all the things that you bring forth, and share why you identify as a super chill Black girl.
Ooh, Tameko, thank you so much for having me up here on Zen and Coco today. I love this name. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I just love it because, when you mentioned this to me, I was like, absolutely, yes. Just thinking of what the name just represents. It brings up something in me. It brings up like, the warmth of cocoa and having a cup of cocoa, and that's my Zen moment. I've been getting into cocoa. I gave up coffee. So anywho, I love the name, and I'm totally not answering your question right now. So let me get
okay. That's why we're here vibing, because it's also a Kiki and a kickback. So that's what I said. Yes. Let's just get into it and have fun, girl.
Yes. Well, my name is Adrianne. I'm a yoga teacher, a Reiki master teacher, and a wellness advocate. I have a nonprofit called Yoga on the Land, where I help people see and understand environmental stewardship through the lens of yoga. And I also work on making nature and spiritual and wellness practices more accessible to people who need it most. So that's kind of the short synopsis. I have a yoga teacher training coming up this fall that I'm really excited about, that is called Embody Power Yoga for Social Justice. And it is a 2-hour teacher training that is social justice themed. And I know you asked me for my bio here. And the reason I bring that up into that is because, Tameko, we go back, and I'm so excited for this teacher training because it's something that's been so long coming. It's something that I think all of the personal self-care work, the trying the different types of yoga, and then even expanding yoga to mindfulness, to focus and devotion, to meditative practices. It's been a long time coming, and I've realized that for me, doing all this different social justice work, prior to teaching yoga, I worked at nonprofits. I worked on different social justice causes such as women's health, environmental justice, animal rights, voting rights, racial injustice. And through doing this, I realized while the causes were changing, while I find myself moving from cause to cause, my yoga and my self-care practice was just getting stronger and stronger. And it was a necessary foundation to keep me working on social justice. So I'm excited about this training because I think it's been a long time coming, as we've seen the social justice world shift over the past 7 years, especially. And so I'm excited to bring some of that personal experience into this, and also just the culmination of, this just helping folks value social justice work in a new way that's more solution oriented and more embodied and hits home for what we need in 2021. It's time for us to use Zen and Coco as social justice work. It's time for Black women to relax, and radically be able to take care of ourselves and have all the support and resources we need. So to me, it's all still social justice work. That's like,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it that you just really you don't even have to define why you're a super chill Black girl, because you literally just told us, like, get with the vibes and get with the movement and get into this social justice work. And basically you just told us all what's really happening. So I appreciate everything that you just broke down so much, Adrianne. And then just the work that you do in the framework that you set up to be able to, I've experienced and watch you in this growth, and have seen you journey through, being a new yoga teacher, and then all the way up until all of these things that you're pushing out and making sure that it's always kind of circling back to you're so loving and kind, and I feel like you always are working to make sure that all of us are remembering our self-care, but in particulars to operating in the space of being a amazing millennial Black woman and curating these activating all that you do with us in mind and intentionally, and coming back to like Black women's self-care being like optimized when we are uplifting each other, when you're working on your own, like you just said, it was an anchor and a waypoint for you. So I love all of that. I love that you ran us down. And a sidebar for listeners, I absolutely am going to make sure that y'all can reach Adrianne with all of her links and ways to get in contact. And for those who live locally to us in the DMV, if you need and want to be out here certifying yourself for yoga with an amazing, awesome, super chill Black girl, then I'm going to be able to link that too. And yeah, so moving right along. So get a little deeper with me on, like, how do you define self-care for yourself, for others, for Black women, whatever? And why is it important to you as a Black woman to really be, getting into your self-care, making sure that, you're tending to self?
it's a great question. To me, self-care is listening to the deepest part of my core being and actually following through with what she's saying. That's the key point here. I think it's not enough for us to just listen. We have to also trust our gut feeling. And so the self-care for me comes with trust. When I look at the body, I look at, well, what can help me trust myself more? And one thing that helps me to trust myself more is when I feel strong. So yoga helps me strengthen based on what I got. It's not about doing the most, it's about working with what you have and executing what you can with that. I call yoga the great equalizer, because you don't have to be athletic to feel the benefits of yoga. And there's certain postures that will humble anyone at any level at any moment. So yeah, for me, that's self-care for me revolves around strength and not to the point of, how we see workout plans and, this attachment to weight loss and things like that. Strength has nothing to do with that. Strength is about what makes you feel powerful. I know for me, I feel super strong and powerful when I can fully execute a yoga posture, when I've done some amazing breath work, or when I've allowed myself to sit and meditate for a decent period of time, like at least a half hour to an hour. That takes practice. And for me, it also takes strength. Like I realize like it's strength that it comes back to. So even when things are soft, it takes strength. Like for some of us, I know for me, it takes a lot more strength for me to sit still and sustain my stillness than to just get moving and get out of there and just move on, So
girl, that we are the same in that way, because that is a read and that is a word. Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to calm my energy. I absolutely resonate with that.
Yes. And, and I think that takes self-awareness and self-care. Like I have to listen to myself of just like, no, like you need to stay still right now. Like, but I got to do this, but I got to do that. I mean, how often does our true core being tell us to stay still and the world tells us to get up and move, or further, what if our core being tells us to stay still and we just are like, nah, no reason whatsoever. We just,
like
we're
literally
just
I'm gonna not.
right. Like the world didn't even tell us that. We literally just being defiant, like, no, I'm going to do this instead because I can do this. It's like, okay, well, yeah, so self-care is about trusting self and having the strength to trust myself in every moment.
I love it. And again, always coming back to the scope and being in the body of a millennial Black woman, and just kind of coming back to like unlearning things that just kind of, maybe we've picked up along the way, and just kind of repacking that, because I love that you said like strength and gave it some more definition, because again, I feel like in the generalized Black girl space, strength is a thing, strong Black woman, we hear that all the time. And it's like so many of us have kind of like denounced that. I don't want to be strong all the time. I don't want to have to, and I've felt that too. But coming back to the way that you've brought strength back into the conversation is just kind of illuminating it to be like being strong is the ability to say, I don't want to hold this. I do not have the capacity. Navigating through what you need and really answering yourself and getting back to the root of what is going to sustain or fulfill or make growth happen in you. And I feel like we need to hear it from all angles, from all of the voices that we can lift up, is that like self-care for Black women is not a particular thing. It's not just housed in the topical stuff, the nails, the, whatever, getting cute and looking fine. But it also is not just one facet of inner work. Again, it takes strength to know that you need stillness. It takes strength to know that you need quiet, things that I always have to remind myself about. So I love it. I love it. So I actually want to kind of tie in, because we listed out like why you're so awesome, what you do as far as your work and advocacy and all these things that you're doing. But I actually want to kind of bring it back to the whole topic of conversation that I've introduced for today's podcast is about spiritual wellness and spiritual self-care. And I just want to circle back to there with you, Adrianne. Like, let's get defined, because I want to know about your thoughts specifically relating to spiritual self-care, because as a yoga teacher and a Reiki master teacher, I feel like you are absolutely qualified to be giving us some insights on like what else outside of yoga, what else outside of, absolutely. Actually, I'm going fast because I want you to talk about Reiki a bit, but what are some other healing modalities that we can be looking at housed underneath our spiritual wellness and self-care? And just generally, what do you have on your heart and mind to share with the people about that specific part of your self-care?
I love how you have put this topic together, Tameko, and how this is all connected, because spiritual self-care and spiritual wellness, for me, it does go back to strength and trusting self. Spirit is expansive, vast, infinite. It's constantly moving. And we have an abundance of spiritual energy. That's one thing that I've learned through my Reiki practice, especially, that's come through strongly, and also through the yoga practice. So for me, the strength and the trust in self comes in strong with spiritual wellness, because there is so much information for us. There are many paths and one truth. That's a quote from Swami Satchidananda at Yogaville. If you ever visit there, you see that everywhere. Many paths, one truth. And it's a reminder that, as humans in this experience at this place and time, it's up to us to make a choice, to make a choice and get focused on what spiritually works for us. And this is something that, and I'm open to hearing other opinions on this. This is something that I've come to because I'm a very spiritually open-minded person. I grew up in the Baptist church. I discovered yoga in high school. I was into astrology in middle school. My mom was into it. She would, have me reading horoscopes and stuff like that. I was very aware that my mom was a Cancer and I was Aquarius, and that there were things that could come up with that aspect.
I am dying laughing. Oh my goodness.
Very aware of this at a young age in the best way possible. So I was aware of the whole makeup of my family. It's pretty funny. But that being said, like my little Aquarius self was just open to all this stuff. So as I got older and I got into the adult real life, and I had the free will to really like decide what I want to do. I wasn't being encouraged to go to church anymore by family members. I had a choice. Of course, that encouragement was there, but it was I do what I want. And so I ended up choosing yoga and then later Reiki right after my yoga practice, because for me, both of those things gave me the opportunity to feel spirit moving through the cells in the veins of my body, moving through my breath. And it then helped me go back to some of my roots of growing up in the church and understanding those differently, understanding the context of, why every culture, no matter where we are, every culture puts their hands together to pray for prayer. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. That is one of the most equalizing postures on this planet that humans come to connect to self, to connect to spirit. So, it's clearer for me to see those similarities. And it took some focus, because prior to that, girl, I was like, man, I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna read that and I'm gonna try this and try that. And it was just too much. I was overwhelmed. Like, what is right? Is anything wrong? Is it, like I was just overwhelmed and confused. And fortunately I had
like stressed out.
Listen, and that's something that I am always I have these concerns about our young people now, and I mean like the folks who are like the internet generation, the folks who have grown up with access to all of these YouTube videos on spirituality that, we didn't really get to access those till we were like at least 18. I feel like YouTube was coming out.
No, that's accurate. Adults, that's really accurate. I think that's really accurate that you're bringing that up. That's a wonderful line of conversation, because that is something to consider. I think that we are from the school of, most everybody generally, if you are aligned with any spiritual, whether it be actual religion or whatever it is that you follow, I feel like the majority of us have picked up like familial, just transfer, like what does your family do culturally, like what region you're in, all of that has kind of shaped. But I find that the younger generation, they have more options, but it's kind of like now it's an overabundance, it's a surplus. You have all of these things. And like you said, it can easily get overwhelming. So I'm glad that you spoke to a point where the point being for me that the takeaway there was really that the spiritual journey is always like this intimate thing that you have to like keep coming back to and dancing with, try to figure out exactly like what fits, what does fit, what resonates, what works. And I think that kind of roundabouts that it's kind of just overview of the fact that a spiritual self-care journey is like this really intimate personal thing that it can't be defined. But I also feel like good luck to the younger ones trying to like cut stuff off. I feel like we've had to like seek more knowledge, but they're going to have to like whittle it down. And I think that there is where we'll see some, you know, differences in the way that I think that our younger awesome what is it, Gen Z, Gen Y? I have no clue. Whoever the younger ones are under the millennials, I feel like they can show us some new stuff. But I also feel like this is why being a bit older and trying to come from this perspective is on my heart too. So I'm again, Adrianne, I'm so glad that you brought that part. Just to kind of give it some perspective, because how does, you know, even that is, we're in a time where like African spirituality is having this wonderful, amazing resurgence. But that also, you know, again, mentioning, same thing, girl, my family is from the South, honey. We don't play anything about traditional Baptist church and coming up in the church. And, you know, what does that look like as the world is evolving and Black women, especially? We're trying to figure it out, and we're introducing or encouraging researching and getting into other, you know, healing modalities. And again, I feel like all of these things are valid and need a seat at the table. So that way we can create the understanding that there's not one path, but there is one truth. Like you said, there's a way, there are all types of ways for us to get there. Are you even watering your spiritual self, first of all, before you start defining who, what, when, and where, and how someone else is right or wrong, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. So look, before I take off, because I feel like that has opened up another pocket of conversation, girl. I'm gonna actually give all of us
right.
And we're gonna go ahead and make that be a whole nother episode that y'all gonna have to tell me that we need Adrianne back on the show about. But look, let's before we wrap it up, I've had so much fun talking with you. I love you so much. Our conversations always are amazing, and I love that you have like really given some wonderful talking points. But before we go, I want to end on a positive note. I want you to just share, what does a well-balanced lifestyle look like for you right now, as in like you for yourself, and then just give the girls a parting message, something that we need to know, something that we need to feel. Just hit us off with some positivity, and then we can both go on and be beautiful. And I want you to go off into the world and be out here doing what you need to do, so that way I can feel inspired. So give us some good words before you go, Adrianne. And again, like I said, thank you so much for taking this time to like even share and build and grow and give just a bit of like the energy that I'm so used to getting from you and just sharing it.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for creating this podcast, Tameko. This is awesome. And this is a conversation that we need right now. So I'm excited to be tuning into this as well. What does well-being look like on the day-to-day? That's the question right now.
I said a well-balanced lifestyle. What's a well-balanced lifestyle look for you right now?
Wow. A well-balanced lifestyle is where you have the same amount of giving and receiving, where it's just like air, it's like water. It's like, it is perfectly where every element is sustained. So for me right now, what that looks like on a practical level is being surrounded by my plants, being able to paint, having a space for productivity. I just got a standing desk, also surrounded by plants, and also being in a space that promotes movement and relaxation at the same time. So I guess my well balance is really in the home at this moment. So making the home have all those elements, so I don't have to seek outside sources for that right now.
That sounds progressive for your work. That sounds tranquil. It sounds like you were communing with nature in a time where communing with nature is precarious because the air is trying to get us. But you're trying to just bring a little bit of pocket of, you're trying to just bring a little pocket, an oasis of naturescape into your home. I love it. And yeah, so definitely I need to get into that standing desk. That sounds like something to follow up with you about later, because oh my goodness, I feel like that sounds like something for productivity for sure. And so
it's really helpful, actually. I never thought, because I have a really nice couch that I can put my laptop. I mean, like a chair, not a couch, but I can work on my laptop on my chair. So I figured I should have a standing desk, at my house.
Baller moves. I like it. And so one last thing, like I said, before we go, drop some knowledge on us, drop a parting word, give the girls a good, make us have a good day. Give us something good. I know that I love it. I'm about to say, because I've been in your yoga classes as a student, and I've heard you give us just all types of motivational. So I'm really just in the mindset of like, give us something good before we go, and we can peace on out of here, and everybody can have a beautiful day.
Okay. Well, remember to water your roots and tend to your garden. And also remember to stoke your fire and keep that fire burning. So the same way that we practice caring for ourselves in the nice watery way, let's also practice fueling our fire and keeping that sustained as well. So put some logs on your fire while you're also tending the garden.
I absolutely love it. I felt the energy, and I love a good watering garden analogy, because if you can't understand what is being said, then you are not watering your garden. So just straight like that. Adrianne, love you so much. Thank you for doing this with me. Y'all are awesome. Stay tuned in to Zen and Coco, and holla at y'all later.
Love you too. Thank you for having me, Tameko. Okay, I guess I can hit.
All right, y'all. Like, dang, just like that. We're at the end of today's show. I want to thank you all so much for listening to the Zen and Coco podcast. Again, this is episode number 9, Vibing Higher with Spirit. I really hope y'all also enjoyed the latest Zen Den chat. Please check the show notes for all of the ways to connect with our guest, Adrianne, and of course, me and the podcast. Shout out to Adrianne. Thank you so much for being a part of this week's episode, and I'll check all of y'all next Wednesday. Holla!
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, like, and subscribe so you won't miss the next Zen and Coco combo. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Zen and Coco, and follow host Tameko on Instagram at Coco Butter Mothers. Peace.